Alright guys, so welcome back to JorDan's Medieval Brawl Season 2. We've got ACCM here spawning over on the right side, the blue trunks. It's the mines, a nice archer civ with a really good eco behind it as well. Today he's up against Vinchester, pink trunks on Chinese. So civ that spawns with a bunch of extra villagers, but has a lot less starting resources. I'm not sure if it actually ends up meaning really all that much of a gain, because I mean you gain 3 villages but you lose 250 resources. But I mean your technologies are cheaper as well, so that's always handy. Town centers also support extra population, but that doesn't really come into really mean much until Castle Age, because obviously your extra starting villages sort of offsets that. Again, another archer civ. So if you love your archers, you better tune in. Game number 1 here between Sal's Vinchester and AOEbuilds.com ACCM. So big thanks to Jordan for hosting the tournament. Plays really short rush distance here. What map are we on today? So we're here on JMB Arabia. So it's a tournament edition modified for Jordan's tournament. Yeah, these players are frighteningly close. There's a couple of schools of fish. There's one there you can't really see, but you can on the map. There's another one here. Same deal, you can only just see it there through the clearing. This one, I don't know how anyone's supposed to click on it, because I don't think you can actually rotate the camera in AoE 2. Can you? I've never tried. I don't believe you can. So that should be a bit of a pain in the ass. I mean, you can put a mill there. You can just see it flickering behind the tree. Just. You wouldn't be able to see that on the older versions of the game. Not without a mod like Pussy would. Actually, you're probably not even allowed to call it that these days. It's not politically correct enough to have a mod called Pussy would. And we're all about respecting Whammon, aren't we, boys? So we got Age up here for Vinchester, while ACCM, he'll be getting his just after he takes Loom. So I suppose the benefit of the Chinese stat is that you actually do get to age up slightly faster. As well as, yeah, your checks are going to be cheaper once you get to Feudal as well. So it'll be a bit of an easier time. You know, taking your mill tech for your farms, your lumber camp tech for your wood gathering. And getting those blacksmith techs out. ACCM. Actually going to stack up a few militia here. So Vinchester. Not quite going to be able to see that because even the scouts don't have a terribly huge line of sight radius in AoE 2. I'm not sure what's really the best thing. Probably just outposts for line of sight. I know AoEO is really forgiving with the amount of line of sight that things have. But then again, the movement speed is a little bit higher, I think. Either that or the maps. Yeah, no, the movement speed is higher because I think the maps are the same size. And things are slightly bigger overall, like the models. But at the moment, ACCM trying to find somewhere to poke and prod here at Vinchester, but he's pretty walled in. It's going to be tough to get on top of that palisade or behind that palisade, because you're going to have to run past the town centre. Or he's going to have to take the long way around, which I don't think he's looking to do. Instead, start working on the stables. It's funny, we got two archer civs. We got infantry versus cavalry to start out with here. But that doesn't mean our players aren't going to be looking to transition, because ACCM has that range. Men-at-Arms going to slowly be able to work their way through the stables. Be a little while before ACCM can bring this down, but meanwhile he's going to stack up archers and possibly try and get to castle age. Or Vinchester. Gonna have to get enough scout cav to actually take this engagement, or rely on ACCM just focusing on the stables. You can't really engage with just 3 or 4. And here we go with another scout cav. If he gets a good surround here, I think it'll be a good trade. But he microed off the wrong one there. A full health scout cav backed off, and one that was taking the damage got killed in the fight. But ultimately, Vinchester does clean up the man-at-arms. Takes quite a bit of damage, but I think overall that was a good trade, because he did have 5 units versus 3. But I think in a an even unit count trade, generally the man-at-arms will come off better. And same with spears, but if you're running into twice as many units as you've got, it's not going to go so well. Archers as well. Sort of going to need a critical mass that you can actually take down a scout cav in either 2 or even 1 burst to really make them as effective as can be against these scout cav. So Vinchester now going to get on top of ACCM's. Vils get one of those. So ACCM going to finish a wall off here. He'll be set to go to castle. And I think he'll be right that he's not going to lose any more Vils. Vinchester's just going to prolong the damage here, because realistically, now that there's spears and archers out, the horsemen, sorry, the scout cav aren't really going to be able to take a direct fight. So you're going to have to try and sneak past this army and see if they can get on like a single archer, or one of these farmers. Come back to the berries and pick off one last villager, which he does get. ACCM desperate to pick off this last scout cav before it can really chunk another villager. It's ultimately able to clean everything up there. But Vinchester's managed to snag 2 villagers in the midst of all this. So now ACCM definitely got the army advantage, but I don't know if he's looking to push until he actually gets either some blacksmith upgrades or his castle age. So we've gone for fletching, just to get that little bit of extra damage and range on these archers. Actually going to go for archer armor, the tier 1, the padded tier. Ooh, and skirms. Going to be able to jump out and nab a couple of these archers who are going to get on top of the wood line. Looks like they'll have to use 3 bursts to actually pick off the villagers. Now 4, as more of the archers fall. So ACCM has nabbed a couple of villagers, but he has also lost quite a number of archers. So the skirmish is really only useful against archers going forward. So for now, Vinchester can look at moving out. And this time, I think ACCM will be on the back foot, because you can't sort of just pop archers to counter the skirms in sort of the same fashion. These guys are designed to counter archers. Archers are designed to be good against, you know, villagers and infantry, and in large enough masses against cavalry if the cavalry can't surround them. So yes, archer line is pretty busted. But I mean, it's sort of because the earlier states of AoE 2, archers, you couldn't actually attack move them, you had to patrol move them, and it meant that there was a slight delay with getting their attacks off, and they'd actually stutter step slightly. They'd sort of stutter an extra tick before they actually shot. Whereas nowadays, they stutter step really seamlessly. They feel like a StarCraft Marine, and so it ends up, you know, really meaning that they can take engagements into cav as long as they've got that critical mass and they're bursting down the ones at the front. And the cav are just as dicky as they always were with trying to get a nice, perfect surround. It's ACCM hitting castle. Vinchester, he's not far away. But skirms versus Eagle Scouts is not quite archers versus infantry. These guys can't actually engage within their minimum range. I mean, they actually, well, they have a minimum range, so obviously they can't engage anything inside that. Well, the archers don't quite have that limitation. So we got another stables and a pair of town centers actually here for Vinchester. He's going to play that greedy 3 town center position, but we've got 2 town center here for ACCM as well. You could possibly look at adding the 3rd soon, but for now he wants to just pressure with crossbows, and this has actually really paid off. The Eagle Scouts have chased the skirms and killed them all. I mean, it sort of did give Vinchester the time to get his town centers up safely, but at the same time he's going to replace all those farms. These archers, he's going to have to look at mopping them up. Like I said, the knights, well, they are the theoretical counter to them. The clunky melee versus really seamless and smooth ranged in modern AoE 2. I think it could be tough unless Vinchester's able to get a really nice surround out in the open here. ACCM. That forward town centre is probably a good idea actually, because he can use this to take a really easy forward castle here or over here and make it difficult for Vinchester to maintain control of these resources. So big engagement, and with some stutter stepping at the archers, it's very hard to get a proper surround on them. A lot of units going down there on both sides, but I think ACCM did pull out on top slightly there. Maybe more of the crossbows had fallen than I thought. Vinchester's still up by quite a number of kills at the moment. Bearing in mind that doesn't factor in really what the unit costs were. But Vinchester now going to hit the gold mine. Very quick garrison there for ACCM, but I don't know if he's really got the forces here to take the fight. It's good conversion though, because it's on one of the higher health of the knights there. Well, ACCM threatening more farms once again, so it's costing Vinchester a bit of gathering time here, and with the archers stacked up in a corner like that, it's hard to get a really good surround on them. They should be able to clean up those last couple of archers though, because I don't know if there's quite the critical mass there was. So the knights coming out on top so far. Vinchester's doing a great job of not forcing any fights he doesn't need to, but at the same time preventing ACCM from really building up that critical mass that he's looking for, or even really being able to snipe too many vills before getting there. Saying that ACCM is up on villages on Vinchester at the moment. So even though he's later with that third town centre, he's managed to snipe a couple of extra villages, and he's managed to have a bit more fluent, 2 and 3 town centre vill production. Players, might opt to only produce out of one, even if they get the second, at times, because they've got to produce more military, or because they're trying to get more stone or gold, for upgrades, castles, or another town centre. Vinchester to be a while before he can cut through here, so he's going to go for the houses. I think that's probably going to be the quickest route. ACCM, I'm going to add siege, still adding spears as well. I'm pretty sure he can get the pikeman upgrade as mines, so I think he might want to opt to do that at some stage here. Yeah, he can definitely go for even all the way to halberdiers, so it's interesting that he hasn't yet upgraded these guys, because Vinchester's really playing a lot of cavalry on what's otherwise an archer civ. Wall off there, one of the houses being taken out, but ACCM's going to be able to just keep building walling behind it. So it's really only the one house falling for that. But Vinchester trying to add some houses here on the outside of his base, I think just really to prevent any sort of forward building, I guess, and because he wants to eventually go for the stone and the gold that's over here. And it's really actually splitting ACCM up. So the army's over there while Vinchester's able to get quite a number of villager kills, even though he's sort of lost 3 himself trying to take this house. So I don't know really what the strat was, whether that was a bait or whether he's going for a house here and then trying to take the stone or go for a town centre or something over there. Maybe even snake them around the map to pinch the gold or go for a proxy base. But either way, he's stuck in with the knights. Got a handful of villager kills. So Sal's Vinchester, he's still down on villagers ultimately. So I think he lost 3 vills there, but got 6 or 7 up there. But even still, ACCM's now still slightly ahead in that villager count. Although those archers mostly being cleaned up. That last one in the little gap amongst the trees. So ACCM trying to maximise positioning of them. Reduce the amount of a concave that the melee can take around his units. It's always nice to see. Very good awareness and mechanics from the archer player, but at the same time, Vinchester's done a good job with his cavalry raiding and taking the engagements. So ACCM slightly up on villages here. Both our players for the minute look to be pretty safe on gold. I mean, ACCM should have no trouble taking this one. I mean, this one's a bit out of ways. Well, Vinchester, he's safe over here with all this gold. And I think it's really just this further one for him that's probably going to be the problem. And saying that, he's light cav going to keep an eye on things and possibly cut through here. So he's just doing a quick check. See, there's nothing on the deer, which are a really quick food source, quicker than the farms and not going to cost you as much wood. And on that gold, I mean, going for the deer at this stage in the game is a little unlikely considering, the risk versus the reward. Like, the farm's nice and secure. Obviously, the gold mine, you're not really going to have any late game safe gold gathering back at home because you'll have mined out. This will be going, this will be going. This could be, I was going to say that could be really good or really ugly, because that's a lot of villages there to repair. So they can top up the mangonel extremely quickly. But at the same time, gotta be careful. You don't want them all taking a hit from all those big rocks. Taking a hit and getting stoned. You really don't want your villagers doing that. Not from the mangonel anyway. So Vinchester's castle attempt unsuccessful. ACCM instead. Throw one over here. I think it's... Was that just in range to hit those two tiles? But I think you can safely mine off those two. Even still, it's a huge deterrent that ACCM has there for Vinchester's forward gold. And he's sort of preventing him from getting on the other centralmost gold. He has plenty for the moment though, so it's up to Vinchester to try and break this hold that ACCM's got on him at the moment, because I think ultimately ACCM's taken advantage of these slightly more favourable golds. And, you know, played a pretty aggressive base layout here in order to be able to capitalise on this, mind you. But I do think that at the moment he's potentially able to nab this central gold and really put Vinchester at a huge, you know, gold income deficit. It's really, you can't gather this. I think this one's also supposed to be Vinchester's. I'm saying that Vinchester has his cavalry park there, so he could funnel some villages around, get a castle, get a town centre. For now, the focus just on trying to hold. So ACCM looking very threatening. Third trebuchet there for him. Cavalry trying to take an engagement to cut down some of these trebs. So they are already Cavalier. Looks like they are going to be able to get all but one of the trebuchets. The castle falling in response, and that's a huge archer ball there. So this is that critical mass I was talking about now. Be very tough for Vinchester to engage this with cavalry alone. He's probably going to want to back up the Cavalier with either a mangonel or some scorpions. At least then you get some nice splash or some nice piercing siege damage to hit them with on top of his melee. So ACCM looking very scary here in game number 1. Vinchester doesn't actually have a huge amount of military. He has a reasonably healthy economy, but at the same time he's having to use what little military he has to guard his villages really well. They garrison a lot too, so that's also setting his economy back because he's got all these guys actually gathering here. So ACCM's really turning up the heat now, camping another gold mine. And all these farms, taking out another couple of villages, and these trebuchets now are a little unprotected. There's a upgrade to the arbalesters. Good number of Cavalier now for Vinchester. Let's just secure some more gold so we can start pumping out a couple more castles. Archers camping in his base and making this quite tough. The arbalesters actually outrange the town centres by 2, so ACCM's going to be able to take out a lot of villages around that wood line unless Vinchester basically evacuates or he manages to clean this up. So he's got one of those surrounds going down. He should be able to clean up the arbalesters over here. There's more trebs on the field. The ACCM, a huge Cavalier mass, 20 cavs, should be able to clean up this with ease now. But economically, there's a huge difference with our players, and Vinchester having to tap out there. I think it's all over.